It's about building up a relationship, not about forcing animal into anything that it doesn't want to do. It really gives the animal the opportunity to have a choice. That is where that really deep, magical bond really comes from, is when you have that mutual trust and respect. What we're going to talk about next with positive reinforcement is not only the effect that it has on the animal, but also the effect that it has on yourself. It really helps you to understand yourself when you have to really check in and interact with animals in a very positive reinforcement way. The reason why it's so important to have this relationship with the horse is because you really want to be able to show them how much they mean to you by being able to shower affection on them, the way you take care of them, the way you make sure their water buckets are filled up, all those little ways that you can show them how much that you appreciate them and everything that they do for you in exchange for we're trusting our lives to them. So we want them to really emotionally be there for us so we can always stay safe and no matter what kind of circumstances we might find ourselves in with our horses. My own personal experience, what I have seen with horse training is I've had young horses that I started in more negative reinforcement ways because I was still learning about positive reinforcement, didn't really understand how it worked. And so I was using a combination of both. When I really began to understand the principles of positive reinforcement and switching only to that, it enabled us to have these off-track thoroughbreds, hot and fiery and needing tie downs in order to be safely ridden and totally unpredictable and things like that, to having them where I have no saddle and a child on them and only a lead rope strung through the halter and feel confident that the child is safe and can actually interact with that animal in a safe manner. The fact that what we did in that situation was instead of adding more things to try to contain this horse, we took those things away and it gave the horse confidence and freedom, and then it built that trust. And so the less equipment that we use with this horse, the better he became, to where he went from unpredictable, crazy wild to where a little kid can ride him safely in a controlled arena. The ways that you can show a horse that you want to bond with them has a lot to do with how they're taken care of. And also I know that some of you have your horses in boarding facilities where you don't have a lot of say over that. So you just have to try to choose the best boarding facility that you can where they take the best care of the horses. Because if the horses feel like their needs are really tended to, from everything to grooming, to cleanliness, to how often they're fed, to what they're fed, that their water buckets are clean, all those things are ways that you are sort of installing into the trust bank account with the animal, to where they know that they can count on you to have a good quality of life. And in return for that, they will reciprocate that by having a deeper bond and trust with you. One example that I can give you of a training thing that was solved in my life using positive reinforcement is a young mare that I had that was very shy about having her ears touched. And when we first started with her in the halter and everything, there was a lot of fighting, and then unfortunately it sort of developed in her. So for the first few years of her life, it was very common for her to pull away and be shy of touching her ears, which is a common problem among horses. But using positive reinforcement, I was able to get her to the point where now we can get her to lower her head and touch her head and her forelock and her ears, and she doesn't resist in any way at all. And again, we did that by using less force at all and letting her have the choice of whether she wants to participate or not. And by doing that, instead of using some kind of rope or halter to pull her head down, we were able to accomplish very easily what we wanted to do all along, would just be able to touch her ears. So just the same way that we can enrich an animal's life by the way that we care for it and the kind of training methods that we use to interact with them, it also has a reciprocal effect on us. When we engage in another sentient being in that manner, it can help us with anxiety, depression, self-confidence. Certainly when you have a small person who's able to influence the behavior of a 1,000-pound animal, it can be very empowering for people that have had problems with self-confidence or other self-esteem issues. Horses can be so healing for us. So it's not just about taking care of them. It's like we say at the Rescue Ranch, how rescuing animals really rescues us. In the next part of this video, we're going to talk about the meaning behind that beautiful bond between people and animals and what that can really look like and how empowering that can really be for people and help change their lives. And if you have any questions about positive reinforcement, I would love to answer them, so please leave them in the comments below.